My name is Armin, and this is one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. I never believed in things like black magic, spirits, or unseen forces. I always thought these were just stories people told to scare each other. But what happened to me changed my entire life. I originally belonged to Lahore, but for the last 10 years I had been living in Canada, in the city of Toronto. Before moving there, I had spent almost 3 years in the United Kingdom on a student visa. Life was not easy at the beginning. Anyone who has lived abroad on a student visa knows how difficult it is. Finding work, managing rent, studying at the same time, it's not easy at all. For the first 2 years, I struggled a lot, but slowly things started improving. After years of hard work, I finally managed to start my own small business. My business was related to luxury chauffeur services. Basically, we provided high-end luxury cars to VIP clients, politicians, business executives, international delegates, celebrities. Sometimes we had to stay with a client for a week or even 2 weeks, providing transportation wherever they needed to go. At the beginning, I had only one car, but within a few years, my business started growing. I added more cars to my fleet, and things were going extremely well. Money started coming in. And honestly, that's where my mistake began. I loved showing my lifestyle on social media. Whenever I bought a new car, I posted pictures. Whenever I traveled somewhere, I posted photos. Whenever I bought something new, even a phone, I would post it online. Traveling was my biggest hobby. Almost every weekend, I would go somewhere with friends. Restaurants, trips, mountains, beaches, and of course, everything would go on social media. My mother used to warn me all the time. She would say, "Son, don't show off your blessings like this. Not everyone who smiles at you is happy for you. Sometimes people become jealous, and jealousy can destroy lives." But at that time, I didn't take her words seriously. In 2016, my business was doing extremely well, so I decided to visit Pakistan for a few weeks. The moment I arrived, I bought another expensive car. The truth is, I already had a car at home,
but I wanted to have the best car in the entire family. My mother again advised me not to waste money like this, but I didn't listen. During that visit, I attended a few weddings in the family, and everywhere I went, people were talking about me. Everyone thought I had become extremely rich. Relatives who never even spoke to us before suddenly started inviting me to dinners. Some people even came to our house with marriage proposals for their daughters. The strange thing was, I was already engaged. My engagement had been arranged with my uncle's daughter years ago. Even after knowing that, some relatives still brought proposals. My mother refused them politely, but one particular family insisted and said something strange. They said, "Engagements can break, nothing is final." When I heard that later, I felt very uncomfortable. Something about that situation didn't feel right, but I ignored it. After a few weeks, I returned back to Canada and continued focusing on my work. Everything seemed normal until one night when something happened that completely changed my life. It was a normal working day. I had finished assigning jobs to my drivers at the office and completed paperwork for upcoming bookings. Because work was heavy that day, I left the office late. It was around 11 p.m. when I started driving home. My house was about 35 minutes away from downtown Toronto. The road was quiet and almost empty. I was driving carefully. Suddenly, my car felt like it ran on something. A loud bang sound came from the left side of the car. I immediately stopped the vehicle.
When I got out to check, both left tires were completely burst. I was shocked. The road was clear, there was nothing there that could burst both tires. I had one spare tire, but not two. So I called roadside assistance. They towed my car, and I took an Uber back home. At that moment, I had no idea that night would be the beginning of a nightmare. Around 3 a.m., I suddenly woke up. It felt like someone had violently shaken my heart. My heartbeat was extremely fast. My entire body was covered in sweat. My hands and feet were freezing cold, and there was a terrible pain in my chest that spread to my arm and jaw. I started shouting for help. My roommate ran into the room and immediately took me to the hospital. When the nurse attached an oximeter to my finger, her face suddenly changed. My heart rate was over 320 beats per minute. Within seconds, the hospital staff pressed the emergency code. Doctors rushed in, and I was taken straight to the ICU. They started IV medications and oxygen. At that moment, I truly thought I was going to die. But here's the strangest part. After running every possible test, the doctors found nothing wrong with me. Every report came back completely normal. They were confused. How could a perfectly healthy man suddenly arrive at the hospital in a life-threatening condition? I recovered and returned home, but 3 days later, the same thing happened again. Another attack, another hospital visit, another set of tests, and once again, everything came back normal. Then it happened again and again. Soon it became a terrifying routine. Every third day, I would have a severe attack. My heart would race uncontrollably. My chest would feel like it was being crushed. And every time I ended up in the hospital, doctors would say the same thing. Your reports are completely normal. At that point, even my friends became worried. One of them finally said something that made me think. He said, "Maybe this isn't a medical problem. Maybe you should go back to Pakistan and get checked there." I didn't believe in such things, but I was desperate. So eventually, I booked a ticket and returned to Pakistan. And that's when things started getting even more strange. When I arrived in Pakistan, my family immediately admitted me to a well-known hospital in Islamabad. Doctors there performed every possible medical test, heart scans, blood tests, neurological exams, everything. But the results were exactly the same as in Canada, completely normal. The strange thing was that by this time, my condition had become much worse. Before, the attacks used to happen every few days. Now they were happening 2 or 3 times a day. I was in constant pain. There was not a single moment of peace. Sometimes the doctors would give me strong sleeping pills just so I could rest for a few hours. But whenever I woke up, the pain would return. I felt like my chest was being crushed by something invisible. Sometimes it even felt like someone had placed a heavy weight on my shoulders, making it difficult for me to breathe. My family was extremely worried. My uncle finally said something that changed the direction of everything. He said, "Maybe this is not a medical problem. Maybe it's something spiritual." Our family never believed in black magic or spirits. We always thought people exaggerated these things. But when every medical report kept coming back normal, we had no other explanation left. So my uncle suggested calling a religious healer he knew. The man arrived at our house.
He was a humble person and didn't even charge money for helping people. He sat beside me and began reciting verses. The moment he started reciting, something strange began happening inside my body. It felt like waves of heat were rushing from my head down to my feet, almost like fire moving through my veins. But after a few minutes, the unbearable weight on my chest suddenly disappeared. My breathing became normal. The pain vanished. For the first time in weeks, I felt completely fine. Everyone in the room was shocked. That was the moment we realized maybe this really was a spiritual problem. The healer continued treatment for several days. Slowly, my attacks stopped completely. I recovered. Eventually, the day came for me to return to Canada. My bags were packed. I went to my uncle's house before leaving for the airport. Everything seemed normal. But suddenly, while sitting there, the worst attack of my life started. The pain was so severe that I couldn't breathe at all. My family rushed me to the hospital. Doctors had to give me oxygen and even perform emergency procedures to stabilize me. But once again, every single test came back normal. After a few days, I recovered again. Then I tried leaving for Canada. But the moment my departure date approached, the attacks returned.
This happened 3 times. Every time I tried to leave Pakistan, my condition became critical. Finally, it became clear that something didn't want me to leave the country. The healer who was treating me admitted that the case was beyond his ability. He referred us to a spiritual master in Faisalabad. My family took me there. The man looked at me carefully and then said something terrifying. He said, "Someone has performed very powerful black magic on this man. Whatever has been sent after him is not allowing him to leave Pakistan." He performed some spiritual recitations and gave me several protective talismans. Then he instructed me to spend an entire night in a mosque performing specific recitations. That night, I sat inside the mosque with the healer. We both recited prayers continuously until morning. But even inside the mosque, I felt something extremely strange. It felt like someone else was present with us, watching, listening, waiting. After the recitations were completed, the healer prepared a clay pot containing certain items and sealed it. He instructed my father and uncle to take it to a deserted area and bury it deep in the ground. They did exactly as he instructed. After that, the healer told us something important. He said, "Now you can try traveling again. By the will of God, nothing will stop you." I was nervous, but I booked my ticket. And this time, nothing happened. I successfully returned to Canada. For the next 3 months, I continued using the protective talismans. During that time, I felt completely normal. My life slowly returned to routine. But after 3 months, when the talismans finished, everything came back again. The attacks, the pain, the suffocation. And this time, it was even worse. I started bleeding from my nose and mouth. My weight dropped drastically. I was once a strong and healthy man. Now I had become extremely weak. My business started collapsing. I couldn't focus on work anymore. Contracts started getting canceled. Eventually, I had to sell my cars just to survive. One by one, everything I had built disappeared. Friends suggested different spiritual healers in Canada. I even visited a few Sri Lankan healers who were known for spiritual treatments. Sometimes their treatment would help temporarily, but the problem always came back. Around that time, my friends convinced me to go on a short trip to relax. They said I needed a break. About an hour outside Toronto, there was a beautiful coastal area with forests and cliffs. We decided to drive there in the evening. There were 5 of us in the car. We reached the place around 9:30 p.m. It was winter. Cold winds were blowing. The place was almost deserted. There was a natural rock formation there where ocean water would shoot up through a hole when waves crashed against the cliffs. Tourists normally visited during the day, but that night, we were completely alone. I was standing near the edge of the cliffs when suddenly I felt something push me forward. I stumbled 3 or 4 steps. When I looked behind me, no one was there. My friends were standing far away, talking among themselves. At first, I thought someone was playing a prank, but deep inside, something felt very wrong. A little while later, my chest started tightening again. The familiar heavy weight returned. I told my friends we should leave. It was already late anyway. Around 10:30 p.m., we started driving back. My cousin was driving. I was sitting in the front seat. 3 friends were in the back. As we entered the main highway, both sides of the road were surrounded by dense forest. Light rain had started falling. The road was dark and empty. And that's when something truly terrifying happened. My cousin pressed the accelerator, but the car refused to go faster than 40 kilometers per hour. The engine was roaring loudly. The accelerator was fully pressed, but the car simply wouldn't move faster. Everyone noticed it. Something was wrong. At that moment, I had a very strange feeling, like something terrible was about to happen. so I told everyone in the car, "Start reciting something, any prayer you know." They all knew I had been going through strange things, so nobody argued. One of my friends connected my phone to the car speakers and played a spiritual recitation recording that my healer had sent me earlier. But before even half of it finished playing, something appeared outside the car. And what we saw that night, none of us will ever forget.
As the recitation started playing inside the car, I suddenly felt something strange. It felt like the entire road around us had become darker than before. Even though the headlights were on, the surroundings looked unusually black. And then, when I looked outside the window on my side, I saw it. There was a dark shadow moving alongside our car. At first, I thought maybe it was just my imagination, but within seconds, the guys sitting in the back seat also noticed it. All of them suddenly became silent. That shadow was running parallel to our car, just a few feet away. The most terrifying part was that even though the night was dark, the shadow itself looked jet black, darker than the darkness around it. One of my friends whispered, "Did you see that?" Another one said, "Yes, something is running next to us." Panic spread inside the car. I immediately told everyone, "Start reciting loudly, whatever you know." One friend began reciting Ayat al-Kursi. Another started reciting Surah Nas and Surah Falak. Everyone was speaking loudly now, but instead of getting better, the situation became worse. Suddenly, the car started feeling heavier, like something was weighing it down. My breathing became difficult again.
The pressure on my chest returned. Within seconds, my condition became extremely bad. And then, I lost consciousness. According to my cousin and friends, something terrifying happened after that. They said that once I passed out, my body suddenly became extremely violent. It was as if something else had taken control of me. They said I became so strong that all four of them together couldn't hold me. Remember, at that time, my weight had dropped to around 40 kilograms because of my illness, but somehow I had the strength of several people. They were trying to control me while driving through a dark forest highway with no houses or cars anywhere nearby. They kept reciting prayers and blowing over me. After a long struggle, they finally managed to control me. Eventually, they reached a small town. They stopped the car and dragged me outside. They splashed water on my face. After some time, I slowly regained consciousness, but my body felt completely broken. It felt like someone had beaten me badly. That 1-hour drive took us almost 4 hours to complete. We reached home around 4 a.m., but the horror didn't end there. That night, while we were inside the house, we started hearing footsteps in the other room. Then strange sounds began happening in the kitchen.
Utensils moving, doors opening by themselves. The scariest moment happened one night while we were having dinner. There was a chandelier hanging above the dining table. Suddenly, we heard a metallic sound. The chandelier began swinging slightly. I tried to calm everyone and said, "It's probably just the wind." But the moment I said that, the chandelier started swinging violently. Everyone ran away in fear. From that point on, strange things started happening regularly in the house. At night, I would hear scratching sounds on the wooden walls. Sometimes it sounded like someone was coughing outside my window. Sometimes it felt like someone was walking around the house. One night, I heard constant coughing from the apartment behind my room. The next morning, I asked my neighbor if his brother was sick. He looked confused and said, "My brother is in Pakistan, and I was working all night. No one was home." That was the moment I realized those sounds were not coming from any human. Despite everything, I continued praying 5 times a day and reciting protective prayers regularly. And slowly, something unexpected happened. One day, I was invited to a small barbecue gathering by some friends.
That evening, I met a girl through mutual friends. She was originally from India and worked for an airline company. When she heard about my condition, she became very concerned. Later, she spoke to one of her relatives back in India who knew someone experienced in dealing with rare spiritual cases. That man studied my case and told them something shocking. He said, "This man has been targeted with a rare form of ancient black magic. Thousands of entities have been assigned to torment him continuously." But he also said something important. He said the only reason I was still alive was because I had continued praying regularly. If I had abandoned my prayers, I would probably have died years ago. He agreed to help, but the treatment was extremely difficult. For 40 days, every night, I had to go alone into a forest. I had to carry a lemon and mustard seeds, perform certain recitations, and throw the items away in the forest without looking back. Every night, in a different place, completely alone. The first night was terrifying. When I finished the ritual and started walking back, it felt like hundreds of footsteps were running behind me. But I remembered the instruction. No matter what happened,
I must not look back. I forced myself to keep walking. For 40 days, I repeated the ritual, and slowly, the sounds became weaker. The attacks became less frequent. The pressure on my chest disappeared. And finally, after 6 long years of suffering, everything stopped. My life slowly returned to normal. My health improved, and the girl who helped me during that difficult time eventually became my wife. Today, we are living a peaceful life, but sometimes, even now, I feel like something is still watching from somewhere. Before continuing the story, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more real-life horror stories like this. Moral of the story: sometimes the biggest danger in our lives comes from jealousy and showing off our blessings. Not everyone who smiles at you truly wishes you well, so never display your success or happiness unnecessarily. Stay humble. Protect yourself through faith, prayer, and gratitude. And always remember, some forces in this world are real, even if we cannot see them.